Greetings, greetings, and salutations, beautiful people in the beautiful world. It is me, he is I am him. Zach Latimer, Z-Lat, and welcome back to another segment of Right and Exact. A shout out to a new nation and a shout out to you. Thank you so much. You could be anywhere in the world, but you are here with me, and I appreciate that. Today, what I want to talk about and build on is self-centeredness. Self-centeredness. The difference between one being selfish, self-absorbed, and self-centered. Now, if you want to get deeper into this, you can go into enlightenment and transformation. Chief goes all the way in. I'm just going to touch the surface, okay? So here we go. If one is selfish, then one typically puts their concerns above all others, okay? If one is selfish, they put their concerns above all others. Now, they are exclusively concerned about what they feel they want or need. So the only thing they're worried about is their own wants and their own needs. Now, here's the thing about selfish. Selfish, you could still have the ability to feel for other people. You still have the ability to cry. You know, you're gonna put your arm around them. You're gonna, oh, this is really sad. This is really bad. But at the end of the day, they're not going to lift a finger to do anything about it. Again, they don't see and can't see anything beyond themselves. Okay. Now, if we take a look at self-absorbed, okay, self-absorbed, then they typically lack empathy. And when one lacks empathy, then they lack the ability to receive our emotions, while at the same time, send their emotions. Okay, they're not looking to connect whatsoever, despite what they may profess. Because you hear a lot of times when people are self-absorbed, they'll say, "Man, I so much love just to be around. And I want to help, and I just want to give to other people, and I'm just so giving. That's all I do is give, give, give." But then that's a red flag in itself, because at the same time, if you were doing all of these things, and if it was naturally coming from you, then you wouldn't feel the need to speak to it. Just give you something to think about right there. And people who are self-absorbed, it's usually just all about them. All about them, never about anybody else. They typically lack compassion, okay? And when one lacks compassion, then it's hard for one to see the world through somebody else's eyes, right? So let's look at it like this. With this kind of lens to self-awareness too at the same time, because if you ever were going through any type of a challenge in your life, if you ever had to go over any obstacle, or if you were doing any type of self-improvement and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, man, I'm gonna be at this for a minute. That takes a long time to read that book or to study this, right? So when somebody else is going through it, then you can see the world through their eyes, then you will typically have compassion, which will give lend to self-awareness, because you have to be aware of your own situation. Self-absorbed people can't change their vision. Don't see it, won't see it, don't care about it. But then also, I'm gonna speak to how much I do, right? Now, which leads us to self-centered. Self-centered, we're talking about a point, okay? So if you're gonna make a circle, then you have to start with the first thing you have to start with is the point that's in the middle, and then you start to expand that circle on the outside to make a perfect circle. But it all starts with the balancing point in the center, right? So here we go. Now, just because I'm saying self-centered, you could be centered on many things. One can be job-centric, one could be money-centric, one can be mate-centric, one can be child-centric, right? And if one is child-centric, they typically only or vicariously live through their children, right? So they might be at an age where they can't do the things that they felt like they needed to do, so then they start to push their children in the way that they felt like they wanted to go, right? And the danger between being centered on these other things is what happens when your child no longer wants to be treated like a child. What happens if you're job centric and something happens and you no longer have that job? What happens if you're money centric And we all know money comes and money goes. What happens when it's not there as much as it used to be? So if one can center themselves on themselves, then it gives way for the potential of stability. Okay, you have the potential for stability when you ground yourself on yourself. Now, a good way to look at this, a good example is when you're flying on a plane and the cabin starts to lose air pressure. The first thing that they tell you to do is to assist yourself, to put the air mask on yourself, and then you could properly assist others. Because if you're not breathing, if you're not taken care of, then how can you properly assist and take care of other people? That's an act of self-centeredness. Okay. So if we look at that and then we start to hone in on that a little bit, well then, if you become more powerful, then you are able to help people who are less powerful. If you become more content, you're able to help people who are less content, right? If you become more knowledgeable, then you can help people who are less knowledgeable. And as you start to ground and anchor yourself on your soul, because that's really the only true self, then you naturally begin to emit a natural love for everything around you, a natural love for humanity, a natural love for all the things that are moving and flowing throughout the day-to-day life. People will start to treat you the way they see you treat yourself. So, how are you treating yourself? What are you grounded on? What are you centered on? Just some things to think about. I will that you got something out of this. I will that you have a wonderful day. And if you want to get a little deeper, again, go to Enlightenment Transformation. And if you want to chop it up with me, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook, Zach Latimer, ZACHLATIMER. And we can go from there. One love. I'm out.